very tired and it's been a crappy day.
All right.
And I have a microphone that won't work. Okay.
We
so
were
here
just
we
going
go.
and going, and then Valerie realized she never pressed record. So here we go. Take 2.
All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Hello.
And if you touch any damn buttons, I'm driving over there and I'm
Okay,
taking
sorry.
your
This
equipment
time
away.
it's going to be better though because we've warmed up. So, okay. Hello and welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Spanish language horror and Latin American horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
Ronnie, I don't know if you want to go through Florida again.
The spontaneity is gone. No, I don't.
Okay, well, Veronica's back from Florida, everybody.
The too long didn't read is just, I was a week training in Florida for group fitness. Very tired, came back very tired.
Yes.
It was fun, but tiring.
Yes.
All
yes. Right. And so tiring. And so we're recording a little bit later than we normally do. And so it's just, we were starting to talk about the movie already and I had failed to press record. So, okay. So here we go.
Here we go again.
Intro the movie.
All right. So our movie this time around was Páramo, which translates into The Wasteland in English. Movie came out in 2021. It's a Spanish film from Spain, directed by David Casademunt. Very small cast. It stars Inma Cuesta as Lucia, Asier Flores as the very cute Diego, who I think looks like my sister's middle child, but she doesn't think so. But anyway, and Roberto Álamo as Salvador.
Yes.
And the little tagline reads, "The tranquil lives of a family isolated from the rest of society are disturbed by a terrifying creature testing the ties that bind them together." Currently showing on Netflix. There will be spoilers, so just up front, you've been warned.
Mm-hmm. When did this movie come out? You may have already said.
2021.
2021. Okay. So that was like the height of pandemic time.
Yeah, but I think I read in one of those articles that we're listing in show notes that it was written before the pandemic hit, so not necessarily inspired by the pandemic, but parallels can be drawn.
Yeah.
All right. Again, just to repeat to ourselves, I watched this like 11 o'clock last night. You watched it 6 days ago, so your memory's probably a little fuzzier, but
a little
impressions
fuzzier
of the movie?
Okay, so right up top, another trigger warning. I feel like you and I have landed on an unintentional kick lately of we're watching a lot of movies that deal with suicide and suicide ideation. So trigger warning up top for you guys with that. This is yet another movie that deals with that in some way. I don't know, Ron. I don't know about you, but like this is starting to become too heavy of a topic for me to. I don't want to see any more horror movies that deal with suicide ideation for a while after this. But I thought visually, it was very, and we can talk about it more as we get into it. But setting wise, extremely simplistic, obviously because of the nature of the story, and yet really effective atmosphere, creepy tension. As it relates to atmosphere was accomplished in this film. I think the performances, and we'll probably get into that as we move through it too. I think the performances were really strong, but honestly, this was hard for me to get through. And I think it was just hard for me to get through because mentally I'm just in a place where it's just like, it's really tough. I think in general, it's really tough to watch a story anytime where so much of the meat of the story is watching somebody mentally spiral out of control. How did you feel about it?
Trying to think I enjoyed it. The movie, the runtime that's listed online says it's an hour and 32 minutes. And so normally, and I've said this before, that's kind of, I think like an hour and a half is like the perfect length for a horror movie. Any longer than that, and it feels like it starts to drag. With this movie, I feel like they probably could have trimmed another 10, 15 minutes off of it because it was feeling a little long. Because it's a slow paced movie.
All in one space,
but it did, I feel like there, could have been a little more editing done in there to trim it down and tighten it up a little bit. But I agree, the acting was solid all the way around. Lucia, the actress that plays her, and then the child actor that plays Diego, I think they both were just really excellent. And the bond that they showed from
Mm-hmm.
the get-go that you kind of watch. As you said, it kind of starts to fray at the edges, and that's hard to watch, but I think that was spot on. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best movie I've ever seen, and again, that's probably just related to, I think it could have been tighter,
Uh-huh.
and then some other things that we'll get into as we get more into kind of the points of the movie that we want to call out. But is there anything that you think that the movie could have done better?
Well, like to your point about tightening it up, I do feel as we're moving through the movie, we're relying a lot on the effect of like what her slow decline and paranoia and hysteria that kind of takes hold of her and doesn't really let up. As the plot is relying more and more on that, we're having a lot of moments where she's just like firing off ammo into the dead of night or into like wasting bullets, in my
I know.
opinion.
It's like, save your ammo, lady. It's not like there's a gun shop just down the street where you can go
Right.
buy more.
But it's like we can only do that so many times. And I feel
Hmm.
like this movie does that maybe one or two scenes too much.
Hmm.
And it starts to lose its effect. And I get it. I get like why you're doing it, because you are kind of slowly showing this is what it looks like when you're spiraling out of control and you have
Hmm.
nobody to ground you except this small boy who doesn't know how to do it because he's a child. So I feel like we could have done without a couple of scenes of her firing into the abyss
Hmm.
and hitting nothing.
No, agreed.
You know what I took away from this movie? I get why the outhouse is way out there. Like I get it. But at the same time, it's like, damn, you wish it wasn't so far away from the
I know. I kept
house.
thinking, why didn't people like? And I'm sure it had to do with odor, but surely
Odor
there
and
was a way.
sanitation.
Surely there was a way to like connect it to the house, maybe via a long hall or something, where you don't have to like go outside to do that. But
Every time they
anyway,
opened up the door, I'm just like, nah,
I'm very,
get a pot.
I'm very
Like,
thankful to live in a time with indoor plumbing.
with indoor
Um,
plumbing.
all right, so I agree with that. Another thing that I think the movie could have done better, and normally in movies, I'm more of a proponent of the show don't tell. Like
Hmm.
don't do a lot of expository dump. Show me. In this case, I could have done with a little more telling me what the lore is around the beast. I mean, we're just kind of told this is 19th century Spain. There's wars, and so this family has kind of retreated to the middle of this nowhere. I mean, they're out
Just
in
barren.
nothing, flat land, nothing as far as the eye can see. And so I just would have liked a little more world building
Uh-huh.
to kind of ground that. And I think that was lacking.
Yeah.
And the story could have been a little bit stronger if we'd had just a little bit more.
I feel like the person who could have done the world building was Salvador. That's
A
the
man, a few
father,
words.
the man of few words. But he's also frequently shut up and shut down by Lucia, by his wife,
Hmm.
who's just like, how would you describe her and her mothering at the start of this film?
So apparently, and again, it would have helped to have known a little bit more, but apparently they've retreated and isolated themselves from the rest of whatever is going on in the world around them by choice. They don't trust anybody or anything that's happening outside of the borders that they've set up for themselves. The dad, Salvador, keeps trying to teach Diego how to survive in this world. He's trying to teach him skills that he needs to know to survive in this world. How to shoot a gun, how to
Gun
kill
a
an,
rabbit.
kill
Yeah.
kill a little rabbit
In the
for
worst
food. And the
In the
mom
worst
keeps
way, though,
trying
it's
to,
like, can't we kill a
well,
rabbit a little
can we
bit
shoot
quicker
it?
than that? Right. Or knife it? I
But
don't know. Like, why do we have to hit it with a piece of wood? Like,
I
come
know.
on.
But the mom, she's trying to preserve, I guess, his innocence and his childhood, which I understand. But if that's just going to do him a disservice in this world, you got to teach him how to survive for
Right.
when you're
Yeah.
gone. And so
Yes.
every time that Salvador is trying to introduce something or teach him something, she's like, no, not right now, Salvador. Please, not right now. And
Kind of
at
giving you the
odds.
impression that it's like there will be time for that. There will be time for that. But it's just
Hmm.
like, as we know, you're not promised tomorrow. So if this is the world, like I understand wanting to protect someone's childhood as much as possible. Absolutely. But it's like if this is the world, he needs to maybe know how to fire a gun. He needs to maybe be able to hunt and effectively cook his own food, all these
Hmm.
things. So
Hmm.
yeah. And I feel like, and you tell me, because there's an obvious mental health through line of this
Hmm.
entire movie. You could interpret the beast as something that's real or something that is like a true threat in their world, Or you could interpret it as something that is more, for lack of a better phrase, and I don't actually like using this phrase anymore because I feel like it's antiquated, but for lack of another way to put it, forgive me, inner demons. So you could look at it as that too. I think there's ways that this movie gives you room to take it either way.
Either way. Mm-hmm.
How did you interpret it?
My instinct was to take it as a real thing or like an actual entity, but as metaphor for mental health. Because when we start the movie, we can tell that Salvador, he's already pretty much, he's a haunted man. He's kind of sunk down in whatever depression or whatever. He even at one point, Diego sees him put the rifle under his chin like he's gonna.
It seems like he's
gonna kill himself, but he doesn't. Which then that raises the question later on in the movie when he leaves with the supposed mission of returning that dead soldier to his family. Is that really what his intent is, or is this kind of like a suicide by proxy? Like I can't take my own life, but I'm gonna wander out into the world where I know bad things happen and let somebody else do it for me.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. And that was going to be my question later on, is just like, what was your interpretation of that decision he makes to go off? So what Veronica's describing, there is a scene, which by the way, was like pretty damn graphic. So what happens is they're out in the middle of nowhere, as we described, this true wasteland, not a tree or mountain or anything in sight. And so one day a boat happens down the stream carrying in it a wounded soldier, right? He's a soldier.
I didn't even clock that he was a soldier, but that's what the articles that are linked in the show notes.
Yeah, like we don't get a name. He doesn't even speak in the limited time he's on screen, but he's wounded. And so they decide they're going to doctor him up, keep him alive. Then in like the next scene after Salvador gets him from the boat and stuff like that and doctors him up, the next scene, Diego and Lucia are in the house. He's braiding her hair or something. And the soldier dude is there in the mirror almost immediately, like takes a rifle. You think he's going to fire it at them. Lucia gets in front of her son to try to protect him, and he fires the gun into his own face.
See, that I wasn't even clear on. I wasn't clear if he shot himself.
You didn't see that? You saw that.
Well, I thought Salvador had come in and shot him from
No, because Salvador comes in like a minute later or something. Like it's not immediate. Dude took his own life. And you see the gaping hole. And it's like, dang. You see brain matter on the floor. It is messed up. She makes candles. So I saw like candles hanging, taper candles with blood all over them. I was just like, oh, that's pretty nasty. That's the scene that Veronica's describing. And so then Salvador decides, well, we need to, this man had a family. He checks his belongings. And sure enough, he had photos of people. So Salvador tells the family that he needs to take the body out and try to locate them. I don't know how the hell would you locate? Who the hell knows where this man came from?
That's why I don't think it was, I think it was just a reason for him to leave, let somebody else do what he was not able to do himself.
Do you want to tell folks what limited lore we get? Do you want to share it with them?
So he tells his son the story of this entity or whatever that's called the Beast that apparently appeared to, like, we never know why it shows up to some people and not others, but when Salvador was young and growing up, the Beast appeared to his sister. He's telling Diego that once you see the Beast, you're doomed forever. Like you can't get away, and it feeds on your fear. So basically your fear makes it stronger. And so there's no getting away from it. He says one night he woke up to find his sister just staring out the window, and after he had refused to let her sleep with him because she was scared because she said that the Beast was coming, and she jumped out the window and killed herself basically. And apparently he's never fully recovered from it, and he's just a depressed looking man.
And this is again where I think it's so interesting the way they chose to weave this lore into what I think is a very strong metaphor for mental health. If you take it from the lore side, then yeah, he hasn't overcome anything because he's been quote unquote marked by the Beast. And as he told Diego, once you're marked by the Beast, there is no escape. There is no hope for you. This story kind of does a really interesting job of showing that. This is one of those where this part they do show, don't tell. We do then get to see Lucia just spiraling darker and darker and deeper to the point to where there are some very disturbing scenes, at least two that I remember, where she tries to take her own life in front of her son. Did you feel when they're in the bathtub? Did you feel that when she goes underwater that she was fully intending to drown herself right there in front of him?
Possibly.
Or what do you think?
I mean, I obviously think that this is a metaphor for mental health, but I honestly don't think the movie is playing it as straight up, this is all mental health and the beast is just imaginary, because it's just too much for Salvador to be suicidal, for the mom to be, I mean, it's just too much for it to just be depression, you know? I mean, it's too coincidental. It's too all packed tightly together. And her slide downhill once Salvador is gone was just really rapid. So I don't think it's I mean, the allegory can be made for mental health, but I don't think the movie, and I could be wrong, but I don't think the director was playing this as directly being like, this is just all imaginary. It's just in their psyche. Maybe the beast, because, you know, like I said, we're not ever told why he appears to some people and not others. And maybe if, as Salvador said, it feeds on fear, maybe because Lucia seemed fine when Salvador was there. Once he's gone, though, and that buffer, her safety net is gone, and then she's bearing the full brunt of getting the food and doing the work around the homestead and keeping Diego protected. That would obviously be a time when her own fears would start to set in of like, can I really do this? Am I strong enough to do this? How am I going to do this? So maybe her fear that starts germinating is what drew the beast, and her fear keeps making it stronger. And so she eventually does succumb to that.
So yeah, so then your take is that the beast is something within the context of this movie, the beast is something that's real and not just something that is like a product of their own hysteria.
That's my take.
And mental breakdown, for lack of a better word. Okay.
That's my take on it. And I did think that it was really interesting that the things that broke his parents, the adults, by the end of the movie made Diego stronger, transition out of childhood, out of innocence, and he faces down his fear. Well, he's afraid. He's afraid.
A transition out of trauma as well. Yeah. Out of, since it's all
end,
people in his
At the end, when his mother has, by all appearances, she's mortally injured herself, and the beast is there in the room, and he's starting to advance on her.
Which we don't
Diego
really
screws his courage to the sticking point, and he, stands in front of his mother, and he backs it down. And I think maybe that is a theme of the movie is too. It's like we all have fear, we all have things that we're afraid of, but it's the question of like, what do you do with that fear? Do you give into it? Do you let it consume you, like Lucia did, like his dad did? Do you succumb to it? Or do you face it head on? It doesn't mean you're not afraid, but that's what he did.
I don't like that.
I do.
It goes into this place of like, if you're depressed, that's a choice you're making, and not just.
But see, you're holding to that this is just all about mental illness, and my take is that it's not.
I mean, a lot of the things, to be fair, a lot of the things that we read that are in show notes make reference to it, which is why I bring it up. So like, I think it's a theme that not just me is out there picking up on. I think it's a theme that is present there. The other thing is like, we don't really see the beast. There's room and then maybe that's the beauty of the film. There's room to go down the path of like, it's something that's real, and this is about mastering your fear. Or there's room to be like, maybe it was never real. Maybe it was always in their mind, things that they were having to battle. I never got a good look at the beast. How would you describe what little we did see?
Well, it was kind of like a big stick man. Yeah. I just don't like it, especially with Lucia's slide. I mean, that wasn't even just depression. That was just insanity. I mean, that was just too quick and too extreme for me to buy it as that's just a normal, that was just a normal depression progressing. Being depressed doesn't mean you're crazy. In fact, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily attempting to say that someone who is depressed is insane, but driven to despair. It's a fine line for me of just feeling uncomfortable saying, look how strong Diego was. He overcame his despair and she chose to give into it.
But that is what happens. Like, you can have soldiers in the same unit, be in the same battle, see the same bloodshed. One comes back with severe post-traumatic stress disorder, and somebody comes back and they deal with it fine. Yeah. And it's just I don't know what it
But
is. It's a different.
that's not always a choice that's made. It's not a
Well,
cognitive
I didn't
decision
mean to
that's
say I
made.
didn't mean to say that Diego made a conscious choice, but that was just his instinctive reaction in that moment. He faced his fear. He did not let it consume him. His realizes his mother has passed. He lets her float down the stream and he sees the beast. You can see it reflected in his eye and he sees it. I interpreted that to mean that we're never free of fear, but it's
Yeah.
how do we choose to respond to that?
That was another moment where it's like, I didn't know, is this real? Is this all in their head? Because we do see it. We see it in the reflection in the water. But then when we show the actual camera angle, there's nothing there. It had me wondering, is this real? Is this in their head? I don't know that the film ends in such a way that we can know for sure, which is, I guess, one of the cool elements of it. What do you think becomes of him? Well,
I don't know. I would like to know because he, by all accounts, has never seen the outside world. He doesn't seem to know what's out there. He has no supplies. He's got no food with him, no water. Who knows how far it is to the next human settlement? This is worse than the ending of The Devil's Backbone because at least all those little boys had each other. You knew there were cities out there that were not going to be too far. But
do you think he's overcome the beast, or do you think this follows him?
Well, again, I think, being that this is a horror movie, that there is a supernatural element. So I take the beast to be like a real entity.
Yeah.
That he may never be completely free of it. He's shown, at least so far, a resilience to, and maybe that comes from just being young, who knows, a resistance to it.
And he's seen that he has seen what it looks like to quote unquote overcome it. So it's like, maybe there's hope for him because he has stood the beast down and set fire.
I would like a more definitive ending. But Netflix doesn't let you, it just rolls you into the next movie in the queue. And so I was like, is there like an end credit scene that shows him like arriving at a village with people that don't look like they're going to kill him?
But that was going to be my question about the dad. So you think he did consciously choose to leave knowing what was probably going to happen to him?
Yeah, definitely. Because even Lucy, if I remember correctly, when she's telling him, "Don't lie to me about your reason for leaving," I think she knew he wasn't planning on coming back.
Yeah, I forgot about that. She does say that to him. Yeah.
So, poor Diego.
I really had hope for Salvador. Like, he didn't seem to me like a bad man. That scene where you mentioned already, where he was pointing the rifle at him and you think he's going to do it, but then you see that it's a rifle where he was carving out the initials of Diego. Like, he was making a rifle for his boy for his birthday, which, so you see that part reminded me a little bit of Las Tinieblas, like this misunderstood father who's maybe haunted and hurting.
Please remind me, which movie was that?
Veronica, that was the one you loved so much.
I can't keep the name straight with
the one that you went on and on. The one that you went on and on about the dad and like the love of a father and a parent.
Oh, the one
you
with
made
the
that beautiful
masks.
speech. Yeah.
Yes, well, in this movie, the parents did not stand sentinel. They abandoned their posts. In some happy, scary movies.
Were there any like particular moments that stuck out to you in this film as like, ooh, really good, nice and creepy, or effectively gory?
The one you already mentioned, the headshot of the, missing his
clearly
his face,
put a hole in his head.
That was unexpected because I wasn't really expecting that level of
gore.
Gore.
I was
that
just
was really the only gory thing.
Were there any jump scares to you?
I don't think so. I don't recall jumping.
I'm trying to think. No, I did make a note, like as far as the barren land you talked about, the just nothing and nothing for miles around them. Mm-hmm. During the day, it feels very isolating. Obviously, you just get the sense that there's nothing that they're nearby. They're literally out there on their own. And so it feels obviously very lonely. But then at night, anytime there would be the night scenes and they would venture outside or whatever, you would get shots of the outside. It just it was almost overwhelming because it's just like what was like you could see for miles and miles during the day. Suddenly at night, it just feels like you are a sitting duck. Because if there's nothing out there, then there's nothing you can hide behind. It's just like you're just an open target.
I don't know how defensible that location was. I mean, I guess you could see people coming from a long distance away, but we're like, like you said, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
What did you like? What was your sense of what again, this is one of those movies like Las Tinieblas where it's like, I really wish we got a sense of what their life was like before, because when she pulls out that red dress and she's like, your father made this for me. What did he make dresses? Like, what did he do? What was their life before? Like he obviously has an artistic flourish because he carves the name into the rifle. And I'd like to believe, answering my own question that I asked you as far as like, what do we think happens to Diego following this now that he's out there on his own? I'd like to believe facing down this threat, even if the beast follows him, even if he never outruns the beast, kind of like the way his father never outran the beast, I would like to believe that he is in a stronger place than his father was. And so maybe he's better equipped to carry on. And that is me spinning rare optimism on this show. That's usually Veronica, and I'm usually the one spiraling further down.
But I just need to know, because he had no food, no water, no supplies of any kind.
I know. It's like all
doesn't even know which direction to set out in.
All they had was just that little stream, which, like, I don't see how any boat made it down that damn thing. Like, it's barely enough to sink a body when he has to let her body go in the water. Watching her decline in the movie from the mother that she starts out as, just very wonderfully present and loving and patient.
She's always engaging him in play and imagination, and then to see the disintegration of that bond.
Yeah. Was that hard for you to watch too? Like, that was like, I kept pausing the movie because I kept being like, ugh, this is just how was that experience for you?
It was hard. It's always hard watching that because I always want the maternal instinct to win out over whatever supernatural forces or other outside forces are trying to tear that bond. I always want the maternal instinct to win out, and the fact is, it just doesn't always happen that way.
Sometimes it doesn't. You watch her sense of play leave, her sense of her patience evaporates. The task of running the house and doing all of the chores that they do every day, maintaining the safety of the house. So just bit by bit, she just disintegrates. And so it's hard to watch. And then, like the scene where she tried, it's hard to say whether or not she was trying to drown herself in the bathtub or she was just in such a place of
that she didn't care.
She was not connected and not thinking of like, this looks terrible, I shouldn't do this. Then there is a scene where she very much does attempt to take her own life. She attempts to hang herself, and it was horrible, horrible. So I had a harder time watching this movie than I did watching Las Tinieblas or The Orphanage or even Elementary. Like, all of these movies involve suicide in one way or another. And it's just like, we need some happy crap. We had a break with Bic Zombies, but we need some more movies like Bic Zombies.
I will say that near the end of the movie, where he's set the house on fire with the beast supposedly inside, and he loads her in a wooden wheelbarrow, and he starts to push her, and he reaches like the boundary of their property that he's always felt safe as long as he didn't cross over. And she does tell him, carry on. Carry on. So I think that was maybe at the very end of her life, like a little moment where she's telling him to keep going.
Yeah. Well, and
just keep swimming.
Keep swimming. And maybe maybe a glimpse of that mother instinct kicking in happens when she is attempting to escort him outside to go to the bathroom. And then at the last second, she just shoves him outside and closes the door. She says, it wants me, or whatever. The beast wants me. Maybe that was her attempt to just be like, go, get out. I will stay here and sacrifice myself. So I don't know. I was not expecting her to pass. I was not expecting her to be passed by the time he gets to the water. And so that was a bummer. Again, that was a bummer. In a movie that's a bummer, that was a bummer.
I was like, I don't remember at what point in the movie I was like, oh my God, they better not, both the parents better not die and leave this poor kid, out here on his own.
With literally nothing.
No street smarts whatsoever.
He doesn't have ammo anymore because she fired it all. Like, he has
nothing. He didn't even take a knife.
We're going to choose to believe he's plucky and he finds a way. So...
He meets up with the little Devil's Backbone orphans on the journey to the city. Okay,
on a light switch scale time, how do you rank this one? How many light switches in the don't watch at night light scale?
Maybe 1. I need a lamp on.
I feel like this was. Do you feel like this was another movie that was low light? Okay, yeah. So it benefits you to have a light on so that you're.
I was like, am I supposed to be seeing something? I don't see anything.
I mean, that's the other thing, and that's the other thing that plays on the landscape. You get these wide shots of the landscape, and it does, and you think, okay, I'm looking. I'm like, what is it? What is it?
I don't see anything.
I couldn't see anything. Like, is it staring me right in the face and I can't see it?
I know, because Lucy was all like, it's there. It's hiding behind the bushes. And I'm like, okay, what bushes? I don't even see bushes.
There's no bushes. Ma'am, there's no shrubbery. Oh, the scene where he gets caught underneath the clothes that have been hanging on the line.
Oh yeah.
And there's like, she's just trapped under the sheets. I was just like, oh my God, this is excessive. This is too much. I was worried she was going to like shoot the gun at him because she was
That's
just
what I thought too. And then I thought, okay, she's so paranoid that the dad's going to come back and she's going to shoot him. She's going to.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought. That's like what I was expecting throughout the entire film. It was just like, what's going to happen is she's in this hysteria. She's going to shoot her own husband dead because she's convinced that that's the beast.
She was very beautiful, by the way. She kind of reminded me of a young Salma Hayek.
I thought she did a great job. So much of this movie isn't dialogue. It's these two, Diego and Lucia, really playing off of each other. And so I think they both do a really beautiful job. Yeah, 1 light for sure. This is one of those movies where it's like, I don't know that it has rewatchability for me simply because it's such troubling subject matter for me. There's not enough, for lack of a better word, there's not enough hope at the end of this horror movie. It just feels very despondent. So I don't know.
Sorry.
Even Las Tinieblas, like if you wanted to, you could believe, okay, if nothing else, they at least have each other. And the Devil's Backbone, the kids at least have each other. And I guess what makes this feel so much sadder and worse is that he has nobody. Yeah. So if he had one person, I would feel better about it. Veronica, did you figure out what book we're reading?
No.
Okay. Because Veronica
There's too many texts and I'm trying to like scroll back through. Like, when did she mention that book?
Oh, I've only mentioned it every episode for multiple weeks. Like Veronica texted me the other day.
Where is it? An Excel spreadsheet or something, but I don't know how to do Excel spreadsheets.
This is what she texted me.
Like, keep track.
What's the book we're supposed to read again? Kissy face. I chose to ignore it. It's just like, I'm not even going to respond to that right now. And then I genuinely did forget to respond because we have a website, we have episodes, we have social media, all of which feature this book that we're reading.
It's on the website? I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually been to the website.
All right. I quit. The name of the book, ladies and gentlemen, is Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. If you go to our website, don'twatchatnight.com, we have a book club page and it has that and it has a link to the book. So it's a short book.
Have you read it already?
I have read it. I read it in a day. I read it in an afternoon. So it's a short one. It's like a novella, 192 pages. So yeah, you'll get it done in a day. Read it. I'm still sitting with it, and there'll be plenty to talk about with it because it is so short. You end it wanting more, I think. So it'll be interesting for us to talk about it when we talk about it at the end of April. So our next episode coming up, guys, will be book club episode. We'll be talking about Fever Dream. We're gonna have cocktail pairings. Oh, Veronica was in Florida already when I texted her about Val Kilmer passing. So a moment for Val Kilmer. Veronica, what film in particular sticks out to you as like quintessential Kilmer? A lot of people online were talking about like Tombstone, his Doc Holliday in Tombstone
he was good as Doc Holliday. I just don't like that movie, not because of him, but because.
How big are you on old westerns?
Well, yeah, it's a western, and I just never liked. Oh God, what's the main character's name?
Wyatt Earp.
I just never really cared for Wyatt Earp. Top Gun, that was like the big movie when I was a senior in high school. The theme song would play all the time. Yeah. That Kenny Loggins song and his Iceman portrayal. What else have I seen him in?
People were talking about Tombstone. They were talking about, what is it, Real Genius? Is that what it was?
I've never seen that one.
I never saw it either, but I would have thought you would have because it was of your era. I liked him in The Saint. I
I
liked
did
him
see
in
Ghost in the Darkness, but it was a long time ago. I don't really remember a lot about it.
yeah, that leads, I guess, me into last week while Veronica was in Florida. I was going to say while you were on vacation. It was not a vacation. While she was in Florida, I watched The Ghost in the Darkness, and I recorded film commentary for that for our Patreon group. So if you are a member of Patreon or you'd like to join our Patreon, we're going to link it in show notes for you guys. We do creepy cocktail hours once a month. You get a video episode once a month. You're the first, if you're in our Patreon, you're the first to hear about live streams, aka live shows that we do. And in this case, you got a bonus episode this past Monday. We're recording on a Thursday, where I did a film commentary, full movie of The Ghost in the Darkness, which is, in my view, an action horror film. And as I watched it again, I hadn't seen it in easily a decade. And as I watched it again, I stand by it. It's a horror movie. It's an action horror movie of the 90s. So if you can, go stream it. It's on, where did I stream it? Amazon Prime? So you can stream that and give it a watch and listen to our commentary episode. If you guys like this, Patreon folks, if you like this, then we can do more, and Ronnie can be part of that next time. We can pick a movie out. But yeah, it was fun. He is a great actor, I think. And what has been so nice to see online is how everyone collectively agrees that he was a wonderful talent. And it's so sad to lose him at 65. That's not old at all. R.I.P.
I have actually been watching some things, and now you're not going to ask me.
Well, okay. What are you watching? Like, I didn't assume you were, because you just came back from traveling.
No, I binge watched all of season 2 and all of season 3 that's so far. I thought season 3 was done, but there's still 3 more episodes left, so now I have to wait week to week to watch it. Dark Winds on AMC.
Oh, that's the one. Is that the one you told me about?
Mm-hmm. It's like set on it's Navajo tribal police, so they
I really
incorporate
want
a
to
lot
watch
of
that one.
they incorporate a lot of, I'm assuming it's legit Navajo like traditions and things, so that's kind of cool. And then I also finished binge watching all of the rest of the episodes of Saint Denis Medical.
Yeah,
it's that little medical mockumentary comedy that's it's funny.
Yeah.
See, go watch that. That's fun if you want something to kind of lift your spirits.
Something light.
Something silly.
Dear God, I don't want to deal with suicide stuff anymore.
Really, man, we need to do a better screening of the next movie.
Well, it's not like
we need something lighter.
I know. You know what I was
ASMR.
Can we do
ASMR?
Okay, but that's like aggressive. ASMR is gentle. Although there's a whole realm on YouTube for like fast-paced ASMR. How are you supposed to relax to that? I don't like that. Like I don't like that.
You know what? I don't like the ASMR where you can hear them chewing. That's gross.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I've come a long way. I can deal with some eating sounds, but yeah, I have my limits. I used to be like, absolutely not. Zero chance I'm going to listen to that, but I've gotten better. I haven't been watching anything. Yeah, you know what I was thinking about? Do you remember? You're not going to remember. Do you remember when we did an episode on Killer Book Club?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something like that. We need something silly like that, where it's just like, and I know what you did last summer kind of movie.
Yeah.
That's what we need. Thankfully, we don't have to watch, like I was texting back and forth with Ronnie, and I was telling her, I was like, okay, this is what you're doing next week. We're not watching a movie. You're reading that book, because book club episode.
Book club. All right.
And then May, guys, we're doing Step Outside Spanish Language Month. Somebody from Patreon recommended, Ron, we're giving anonymity here, but somebody on Patreon suggested Suspiria, 1977.
Sounds familiar.
Well, there's
Not that I've seen it, but
there's
name
been a
sounds familiar.
reboot. There's been a reboot, Suspiria,
Okay,
in like within the last 5 years or so. But I know what this person is suggesting is the French one, but I can't find it like anywhere. I cannot find it to stream it. If you find it, let me know. If not, we may have to try to find something else. The reboot is on Amazon Prime, but I don't want to watch the reboot. I know that's not what the intention was. I know that the French one is what they're thinking of.
It says here Italian horror.
I meant Italian horror. My bad. Sorry, everyone. Italian horror.
Well, we'll look around. Maybe we can find it somewhere.
There is a French one that I am thinking of that was on HBO Max for the longest time.
Eyes Without a Face.
Eyes Without a Face. Is it Eyes Without a Face?
I don't know. That was a song back in the 80s.
Yes. You're right, Ron. Eyes Without a Face.
Oh.
That one is on HBO Max, so that could be another option for us. And it's old. It's 1960, so it's black and white, and that could be cool. Oh, Veronica. So at the kids' essentially gifted and talented fair that we were at tonight, there was a girl. So my son's project was on one side of the table, and on the other side of the table was this little girl's project that she did all about horror movies. And so of course I had to go check it out. I went and looked at her project board, and I wanted to talk about it on the podcast, but then I thought, no, I don't want to plagiarize this girl's work. She did such a good job. But she gave out like the distinctions between what makes a scary, like what's the difference between a scary movie and a horror movie, like a true horror movie.
Wow.
And she talked about like old school horror versus new school horror. Old school horror, a lot of the movies, obviously black and white was what she said. They were shorter. Eyes Without a Face is clocking in at hour and a half, which is your sweet spot, versus a lot of the newer horror movies of today, I guess, clock in a little bit longer. She had whole sections devoted to it. I wanted to take a screenshot to share, but then I was just like, no, that feels like stealing this poor girl's work. I'm not going to do it. But I was so proud of her. She wasn't around, not older than 5th grade. So she would have been like 4th grade, 5th grade. I wanted to tell her she did a good job, but she was nowhere nearby. She was, they set up their poster boards and then they walk around looking at each other's poster boards. So nobody's standing in front of their own display. I thought it was cool. And she talks about like, horror movies will feature more gore. There's a killer. Scary movies are just rooted in more like aesthetic creepiness. But honestly, because she talks about gore, she talks about killing, all of this stuff on her board. It's just like, I'm amazed that they let her do this project.
Well, that's cool.
Anyway, yeah. Long live this little girl. May she one day grow up to host a horror podcast of her own. I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about, but
nope.
So guys, the next episode will be book club episode, Finish Fever Dream. I guess that's it for now. Let me just say thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production hosted by me, Veronica, and Valerie. Editing by Valerie. Music by Omar Chakor. Production support for this episode provided by Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street. Listen to new episodes of Don't Watch at Night every other Monday, and don't forget to give us a rate and review. It's the best way to help us grow.